Hey, what's up everyone, Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be going over the first action out of the blocks, and we're going to start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the performance class.
Reach your individual goals.
You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video.
Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become.
All right, so I was given this request recently to really get more in depth into what is the first action out of the blocks, give you a better understanding of what are some of the do's, what are some of the don'ts, and just make it so, again, there's just more clarity around what we're supposed to be doing within really that initial movement, everything that goes into that first step. And so I think it's important to be able to get two different types of athletes here and also two different types of angles. So the main people that we're looking at here is we're looking at Christian Coleman, who's on the outside, and Christophe Lemaitre. We're looking at the backside here. I think it's important to understand it's like, where is the weight here? Where do we want to be able to have our body? And just inherently what's going to happen is we're going to have a good amount of our weight onto that front leg, and most of that push is going to happen within that front foot. Now, when you have your weight in that front foot, you also want to be really thinking about expanding through those toes, really opening up the foot, and you also want to be aware in where we're kind of pressing, and most of that press, while when loading, I would say would want to be kind of middle, maybe slightly outside, and then we're transitioning towards the inside part of the foot here. So as we're going and pushing off, we'd want to have nice and everything nice and extended through the foot, and then that first action is going to allow us to get our weight to shift, maybe slightly. What it looks like he does is he goes kind of slightly outwards, then inwards within the range. I'm looking at this foot here, right? So we're seeing slightly outward action, and then back to inward within his movement. Then he's coming forward as the foot's coming off the ground. Okay, you could also have a little bit more of your weight towards the middle outside, and then immediately just kind of have that weight shifting inwards. The big thing is we want the weight to be shifting out to in, not in to out. We want our weight to be shifting kind of middle of the foot to front part of the foot, not front part of the foot to back, or front to back, then back to front. Those are all wasted, inefficient movements. We could also see with him, he ends up going into a good amount of pronation in that first action in that back leg. That's not necessarily something that you need to do. I usually say that with this back leg, we really want to be pretty light with it, and we really want to be able to come straight through with that movement pattern. Now we can see with Christian Coleman, he does a little bit more of like this backward heel push. We see that sometimes out of guys when they get that first action. Okay, and now what we want to see within some of the spine, upper body, we're going to look more into Christian Coleman here, where the first movement that we want to see is going to be the arm that's coming forward wants to come straight up, or the hand that's coming forward wants to come straight up. The arm that's going back wants to be really driving back. So we can see that the hand is not going too much forward. It's really coming up and through to allow ourselves to have plenty of range of motion through that, what's going to be called shoulder flexion of that front arm, right? So we want to be able to get plenty of range forward in that front arm to allow ourselves to be able to get adequate range of motion coming this way. So if we end up going too much this way with like our arm, what's going to happen is we're going to actually limit how much range we're going to have in our leg, because now we're going to get too much forward action within our body in general, right? So if our lower body is going out and our upper body is going out, now we have to kind of limit that lower body range, because we have to be able to control ourselves and actually decelerate. That's going to make it so we fall over if we do too much straight outward movement. So with the arms, what he's doing is he's lifting really high up with the arms to allow himself to then be able to get as much of a trajectory out with the hips, with the knees, and even with the foot and the toe, to make it so now he's gaining ground within that first step. Another thing that helps him out with that is starting with your head tucked, your chin tucked, right? We don't want our eyes up, we don't want our head up. We also want to be high with our hips, right? So we want to have this angle here where we have the hips high. We can even see Christophe's like head here, right? I think this is even like his nostrils, right, where I put in the arrow here. Okay, so that's where he's like really getting his head all the way down. So then that first action, he could drive those hips through and get forward and out. Same type of thing here. Notice how he's going straight up with that front arm and really driving that back leg back to make it so now we could really get out with that action. And that back foot is going straight through, that knee is going straight through, and we want to be landing, so that knee is going to be going inwards almost. So it starts here, it's transitioning more inwards and forwards, and then as you land with that foot slightly outside of the hip, or the foot is landing outside of the middle of the hip, right? We could do it two different ways in terms of what you're kind of looking at there. Another important action too, and I haven't talked about this yet, and I think it's really important, is the first movement with that front leg wants to really be a downward movement within the knee to, again, help us in getting that forward press. We don't necessarily have to get triple extension within our foot, knee, ankle, which just means that everything is, fully extending, so you're pushing off with that toe, getting extension with the knee, getting extension with the hip. He's getting into triple extension here. There's some guys that say we shouldn't be getting into triple extension. I think that it's something that you want to be able to get with that initial push. It really helps in being able to get the trajectory here. But again, it's not something you have to get. But really, the thing to understand is most of our weight is here within that front leg. So out of the blocks here, we want the push to be coming out of that front leg. That back leg is really trying to get up and out and get good range and be able to strike the ground well, right? So that front foot wants to get down on the ground about 0.25 seconds is good spot to be in general. So from when this foot comes off the ground or off the block until when it comes back down onto the ground, we want to be able to be at about 0.25 seconds. So that gives us an idea of how much time we should have that foot coming off the ground, as well as we talked about the trajectory being able to come out. So we want to be picking up ground. We don't want to necessarily just get that foot straight up and down. We want to be able to pick up range. But the way to be able to get that is by pushing off of that front leg, not by trying to overdo anything or over drive the knee up or trying to get this toe up, right? Those types of things, while can be important, are not necessary when it comes to being able to have an effective and adequate start and really make it so you can have long-term, great success within the sprint. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those down below. And like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're always doing videos just like this to help you in better understanding what you can do to improve as a track and field athlete. How can you run faster? How can you improve your mechanics? What are some things that you need to be able to be effective on when it comes to strategizing the 100, 200, 400, and really just get in depth into some programming. What are some things that are great to help you when it comes to speed training, speed development, what are things you want to be doing during the off season, in season, all those types of things. We have that in our video library. Check that out. Again, like, subscribe as well. Like those videos, share them if you want to, comment too if you have any questions. And yeah, check out some of the things we have in the description. There's a lot of things that we help people do when it comes to improving your speed, understanding what are the key characteristics needed in order to make it so you can run faster and really have a big improvement when it comes to sprinting in general, speed in general, getting all the phases down, the start phase, the drive phase, the top end speed. There's so much that goes into it, and really having a coach that can give you the key things to consider, I think really makes a big difference when it comes to your overall development. So check out the description. Thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe. We'll talk to you very soon.